I see a lot of myself potentially in your kind of personality type, Tyler. I find that because I'm always energized and always excited, I'm also kind of needy.
It's all about that focus, that setting that RAS, that reticular activating system, focusing on what you want. That's one of my golden rules. You get what you focus on in life.
Yeah, I agree.
You start building up stories in your head, and like Tyler and I have had this conversation. We probably wouldn't be partners today because like stuff comes up, right? When you're partners, it's like a marriage. If you don't talk about it and you keep it bottled up inside and you don't like talk about those issues and resolve them, then like you're gonna end up splitting up. You're gonna end up building up and blowing up, and it's not gonna work.
But another huge thing is how we address each other with issues, right?
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Leads to Deals podcast, where we talk about everything from leads to deals and everything we talk about leads to deals. Today, we're going to be talking about efficiency in the sales and the REI game. If you're in the REI space, these are the two guys that you need to have this DNA of how they operate their business, both from the metrics and the sales. I work with a lot of affiliates in another business that I have, a lot of customers, and I wager to say that these two gentlemen are the most efficient dial for lead for contract guys that I know of in the game. I have tremendous respect for them both, and they're both individual deliverables that they're going to bring today. So I wanted to welcome both Andre Carvalho and Tyler Wyatt to our podcast. Boys, Uncommon, Georgia, thanks for coming and chatting with me.
Thanks so much, brother. We love being here with you. Support the podcast. Leads to Deals. Scott, basically the Wolf of Wall Street of our time. Like to say it to the team.
I love that.
Just when Lama leads come in.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, bro. Honestly, dude, that's what
coming from you, that means a lot.
It does.
But it's the gospel. And so what I noticed about you guys, and so let's set the stage real quick for people who aren't necessarily in the REI space, whatever it may be, or just kind of transient with it. You two guys have a REI office in Georgia. It's wholesaling operation at a high level, I guess. Introduce you guys and what you kind of currently do without going too deep into the weeds.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start it off. Andre and I met via Facebook group. I think it was the Pace Morby group back in 2022. I've been in the game kind of dilly-dallying, just pitter-pattering a little bit. I owned a gym since 2017. I bought that when I was 26. Got a lot of sales experience from that, one-on-one and in a group setting. Been in tons of mentorships, masterminds. Andre comes from corporate. He worked his way up at 19 years old, all the way to operations manager for a multi-million-dollar corporation. Got a ton of operator experience, just phenom, wizard when it comes to the metrics, Excel sheet systems, just everything you need to function on a high level with efficiency. And, I'm just that guy that comes in and just shakes shit up, and Andre comes and cleans up the mess, and we get it done, baby.
Did you guys like stumble into each other the first time it was just going to be like a deal together? Or did you guys like introduce yourselves like, hey, I think we would be a good match for a business relationship?
I made a post in that creative finance group because I had just watched, I was looking to get into real estate because I realized in my, while my career was great and I had literally just started making six figures, I was like, man, this is phenomenal. I'm making a ton of money, most money I ever made in my life. But like, there's going to be a cap here very soon. And I was like, I really just always had this entrepreneurial spirit of like, hey, I want to do these little business ideas. Anyways, my friend introduced me to wholesaling, and then I saw one of Pace Morby's like avatar video, and I was like, hey, I'm like that systems guy. That's kind of what I do right now. Like, I love tweaking stuff and playing with systems and stuff like that, streamline. That's what I've been doing for a while. So I made a post on Facebook, and I was like, hey, this is what I'm good at. These are my skill sets. I love to help somebody build their business. And then a bunch of people reached out trying to partner with me, but none of them had any experience. Tyler reached out, and we literally chatted for 3 hours, Tyler? Like, while you barbecue at your house or something?
Yeah. I was actually, I think it was my brother's birthday, and we were grilling out of the house. We usually do stuff like that. We're a real tight-knit family around here, and old Southern boys. And Andre, he actually came from Brazil when he was younger, but lived up north most of his life, New York, Connecticut, stuff like that. So I'm introducing him to the Southern style. But yeah, long story short, I was doing it on my own while I was running the gym, and I had another partner before. I actually helped that guy break the world record for most pull-ups in 24 hours. He was a fucking beast. Excuse my language, but
yeah, go for it.
I know we can get that intense on here.
He beat Goggins, by the way, Scott.
Yeah,
he's the guy that beat. Was he the next guy to beat David?
No, it's like two guys.
It's crazy. It's like the 4-minute mile. Like once that got popular by Goggins, like boom.
Yeah. And the thing is I gifted him the Can't Hurt Me book after I read it when it came out. And then he comes to me later and he's like, I want to break the world record for most pull-ups in 24 hours. And I was like, for you, bro, I'll train you to do that. Like anybody else, I'm like, you might want to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Let's start smaller. But this guy was a beast, But long story short is I just struggled to catch traction with, building a good team. Like I could build a good team, but I struggled with holding people accountable. I struggled with, keeping everything tight knit with accountability and systems. And I could build it all, but I just struggled to keep the team rallied and then keep things rolling. It was just tough. And I had always been told by, old school guys, they're like, oh, partnerships are bad. Don't get into partnerships. My first partnership in real estate with my guy who broke the world record, love him. But we were too much alike, too much alpha. Andre's alpha too, but he's in his own way. So we meshed well. We pick up each other's weaknesses. But long story short, I read Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman.
Great book. Amazing book.
It's one of those books that changed my perception, set my reticular activating system. I was like, I gotta have a partner, gotta have an integrator. And boom, at the same time, God would have it that Andre's over here going on his own journey. And then we just come together on that Facebook post, get on a call, and I pitch him at the end. I call it a pitch. He's probably calling it a pitch on his end to me, but hey, he trusted me. He was making 6 figures. Like, I'm like, this guy's trusting me to come on with me, and we're making 0.
Yes.
He's making 6 figures, and he's trusting my conviction, and I'm going to teach you this. I'm going to teach you this, and we're going to do this. I'm going to do it with or without you. I'm going to find someone. And man, look at us now, 2 years later.
Did you guys at least live in the same area?
No, Connecticut and Georgia.
Are you guys still separated, or are you guys together now?
2 years later, I just moved down.
Wow. Dude, that's dope. So I didn't know that backstory. I didn't know that at all. That's amazing.
After that first call, we met on Zoom before Andre went to work at 9 a.m. every morning. Before I took the kids to school, everything, 8 a.m. to about 8:45, 9 a.m. every morning we met on Zoom.
Yeah.
Building, as we started with the expectations, the boundaries, the core values, everything. We built it all from scratch. Then we started with the business plan and what we were really about to do before a marketing dollar was spent.
Yeah, that was one thing I think we did really well is like partnerships. A lot of them don't work, but luckily for me, Tyler had already gone through a really bad partnership, so he learned a lot of lessons. So when we slowed, he's like, hey, let's make sure we set some expectations, boundaries, and everything up front. So we had a lot of really good conversations up front, like aligning our goals and making sure we're on the same thing and just setting expectations, getting to know each other. And I think a month in, right, Tyler, I was like, yo, I'm going to quit my job. And you were like, nah, don't do that.
Bro, I think it was like 2 weeks. And I was like, don't quit your job. I like literally with the most conviction I could possibly try to sell someone, don't quit your job. And he's like, I'm doing it. And then literally a week later, like something clicked in my mind. A week later, I got us a JV deal and made us our first $5K off of $0 spent. Like, I was like, I got to make us some fuck. I got to show him it's real.
Yes.
Like, so.
And for you guys, like just to sit back and reflect on that, you call it divine intervention, opportunity and preparation, just meet each other, But like, that's a story that most people don't have. A lot of times you're friends first and then you try to go into business partners and it gets so muddy. But the fact that you guys could start that business friendship first, it's like, hey, there's very super clear boundaries. It really is a blessing that there wasn't this whole legacy relationship before you started your business relationship, because that's how a lot of partnerships fail, because it's boys first, then business second. And it's kind of got to be the other way around.
Huge blessing. Huge blessing.
Yeah. So that was 4 years ago. Now, first off, how are you liking Georgia? I mean, a Connecticut boy all the way to 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
But how are you liking Georgia now?
Man, I love, my favorite thing is really the weather. You know, I like, it's not too humid. At least the 2 months that I've been here, it's good weather. And I'm growing into it. We'll see. You know.
But you ain't in just like the city. You out there in the sticks, right?
Sort of, yeah. Ty, would you call this the sticks?
No.
He's
like in between.
Columbus isn't the sticks. Come on. I feel like I need to pull in somebody else.
He's in between the sticks and the city. I'm in the sticks.
I grew up in New York, you know, in the city, and then Stamford, Connecticut, was there for like 10 years or something. And I'm used to having an abundance of restaurants, man. Like just being able to go to all these like good food places. Like down here, I'm like, damn, like I got to drive 30 minutes to find a restaurant. Or like there's like 1 or 2 near me. You know, that's my only downfall so far, is not enough good restaurants.
You know, when I started my last business, my business partner, it was just like functionally, financially, we had to choose Rockford, Illinois.
Oh.
And it's like in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, cornfields everywhere. One of the worst living experiences. Everybody's overweight. All the girls are heavyweight. I mean, it's just like, it's the worst place I'd ever thought. I left a high rise on the 29th floor of Orlando to go chase that. That opportunity. But the reason why I loved it so much is because a lot of the distractions were isolated. And there weren't as much going on. And I just knew that I was going to be dedicating these next number of years of my life to building out this machine, which then could be replicated from anywhere in the nation. And that's ultimately what the end result was. And so there is another benefit to it. Like you said, it's a little bit more slower paced potentially. You know, you have a little bit less going on, but it gives you an opportunity to have a little bit more dialed in experience there now as the operators and building it out.
Scott, let me tell you about the deal why I moved that here. So this was a house we were going to wholesale. It was like 3,300 foot square foot house, like ginormous pool, like 1.5 like huge, ginormous backyard.
About to blow your mind. Your mind.
And we were locking it up for $250. We were gonna wholesale, I think, for like $300 or something. That was our plan. And then I looked at the deal and I was like, yo, I like this house. I think I want to move that. And then I was like, yo, Tyler, pitch him on a sub 2, because he had a VA loan, bro, at 2.2% interest, I think. And Tyler and Connor, our acquisitions guy, you know, they both kind of talked to him about the deal and they locked it up for me, sub 2. And bro, the payments are like PITI, everything, $1,200 a month.
You gotta love that.
3,300 square foot. I mean, the house, once he's living there now.
And an excellent.
It's perfect. Once he renovates it, it's going to be worth like $350.
Good for you, bro. I have a client in the Northeast. It's called IPS, and that's the name of their office. But he was like, dude, I need you to find like my dream kind of house for me. It's like, it's my turn now. And I want to have a wrestling mat area in the back so everybody can come over and we can all scrap. And it's just like, he named out everything. And he was like, so just find me exactly that. And it was so badass, because within like 3 weeks, we had targeted the right square footage, everything that he wanted. And now he's like, dude, you changed our life, because this lead now is literally my dream house. My kids have what they want. My wife has what they want. I have what I want to be able to do. And it's just crazy how like you can pick up deals even for yourself, not just for the machine.
It's all about that focus, that setting that RAS, that reticular activating system, focusing on what you want. That's one of my golden rules, Scott, is that, you know, you get what you focus on in life.
Yeah, I agree.
I teach it to my kids, like the thing you think about most, that's what's going to end up happening. It is what it is.
So you've said that word now, I think 3 times in this call. So what is RAS? Like, what is Reticular Activating System? What is that?
The Reticular Activating System is just a part of your brain that helps you focus like just in that, it helps you focus. It helps you focus on what you can digest, right? So let's take social media, for instance. Social media acts as an external RAS. Like there's so much content out there. If Facebook, you got on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, if it showed you everything all at once, your fucking head would explode.
Yeah.
So it has an algorithm that shows you exactly what it thinks based off of what you've engaged with would want to see. Your brain has that exact same mechanism.
Yeah.
My grandma told it to me, long before I knew the science or the psychology behind it, right? I was sitting at her kitchen table where everybody came to sit to get that, old school knowledge that, we never knew where she got that knowledge from. She just had that wisdom. And I was like, man, I want this like red Toyota Tacoma or something. Like nobody has that color. Nobody has that model in town. And then I saw it in a magazine and now I'm seeing it everywhere. Everyone has it. She's just like, that's how it works, honey. That's how your brain works. And now I know it's the RAS, the Reticular Activating System. When you set that vision board or you set that clear, definite goal in your mind, or that dollar amount, or that partner, or that business, that house, that wrestling mat, whatever you want, you set it and you visualize it when you're in the shower, when you're in the car, it's going to be there. You're going to end up seeing it. You're going to see the signs that point you in that direction. And it, law of attraction, all this stuff, it's all real, but there's actually mechanisms in your brain that point you straight to it.
With the new classes, I'll give them all a black Sharpie. And this is something I used to do, whether it was lipstick on the mirror or whatever. But if you go into my house right now and you look out of my master bed, I got this little bench area and it's got all this big glass. You'll see all my 2024 goals broken down by spiritual goals, business goals, financial goals, familial goals, travel goals. I have those there. If you go into my closet, you're going to see quotes by Muhammad Ali and just various little motivating quotes. I'm a big believer of putting those things, like you said, in front of me because I want it to be my own algorithm, forcing my brain to think. But one of the things you just reminded me of is I remember hearing a famous movie producer saying, hey, man, I can't actually enjoy other people's movies because now that I know how they're made, I'm actually looking at the other stuff behind the scenes. I'm looking at how they had the lights. I'm looking at how this person entered the scene. I'm looking at that cut. And so you don't really get to enjoy the movie as much when you know it. And then it also reminds me of sales. Like us guys who are like heavy in sales, we know a sales pitch when it's coming. We can smell a scumbag politician when they're talking. Like we can see it because that algorithm. And you said social media algorithm. That made me think about those as well too. Like, we know we're being screwed, but the guys who write the code, boy, they can see it so well. And like they know if we could appreciate how they're hijacking our RAS and doing that to us, it is so much more grander than what we are skilled to do as sales guys.
And it's so huge too, because that's really what led me out of the gym business was like, everybody talks about, follow your passion, do that, right? And the gym, fitness, human performance, mindset, like everything that's involved with the fitness industry is my passion, like helping people get better every day. That was one of my taglines, love your life or change it. That was another one in the gym. And the thing was I was in it so granularly every single day that it became a negative. It became a job to me. And that's what really kind of steered me away. And then, real estate, it was just like, man, I'm getting some pretty decent sales skills, numbers skills, business skills. I need to take this from a level 2 vehicle gym business. You can do phenomenal. I mean, look at Alex Hormozi, for instance. Like you can crush it, but it takes so much of yourself. Whereas I was like, I can take this level 2 vehicle with my level 10 skill set and put it in a level 10 vehicle and take it to the next fucking level. And that's
first off, I love Hormozi. I just love successful guys who seem to be transparent. And I know some of it's a show, but gosh, I love it. But his quote, I wrote it down on a piece of glass in my house, so actually beside my goals, because I heard it and it was so profound. It said, he says he tries to avoid doing a 10 out of 10 job on a 2 out of 10 business opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that really rocked my world. Because I've seen a lot of business things. It's like, I'm a 10 out of 10 guy. So whatever it is, I promise I will go as deep as humanly possible that I know and push myself to give it all. But I just don't want to do that in a 2 out of 10 opportunity. I want to do that in a 10 out of 10 opportunity or 8 out of 10 opportunity. And so I love that quote and his business leadership skills. So I want to dig in real quick on Uncommon's location. You guys are in Columbus, Georgia.
Yep.
I was reading your bio, Tyler, and I just thought Columbus, Georgia was going to be like kind of a nice, good old boy town, but it sounds like it's got some rough areas as well in Columbus, Georgia. So what was it like when you were a kid, and is it like it now, or is he full of it and it's just all cornfields and, you got one stoplight?
Columbus.
Is that really?
So the joke, we're running joke, Columbus. How I grew up. All right, let's put it this way. And then I'll let Andre give his perspective because it's an outside perspective.
Yeah.
I had, looking out my back porch, you had a prostitute house, catty corner this way, and then you could buy some drugs the next house up if you wanted to. Didn't matter what your age was. Let's put it this way. Any new kid that moved into the neighborhood, we would have boxing gloves ready to set, and you'd have to get initiated. We'd be boxing out in the backyard. That's kind of how I grew up, walking everywhere. My grandmother, all my family really lived in that little area, pretty low income. My dad was a mill worker my whole life. My mom, she worked kind of fast food restaurants when I was younger, but then she got her LPN, became a home healthcare nurse. And so, they gave us as much as they could. And then just like Andre's mom and what she sacrificed in the early years to give him a platform to move to America and have more, opportunities, my parents did the same thing for me. They propped me up. They moved us finally when I was 17, 18, we moved to the north side of town, which is a little better, a lot better. I was able to get into a pretty decent high school, and, I was able to meet and connect with people and see new things. Man, I'm going to tell you, until I was about 17 years old, probably, I never even seen a wood privacy fence. Like chain link fences.
Exactly.
You got all the springs on your trampoline, bro. Like, what? You got a driveway in your yard? Like,
yes.
We got it was like that. So, man, I say my kids live a polar opposite life that I do.
100%. And that's the goal. Andre, I want to ask, the south side that he's talking about, do you guys acquire properties where he grew up at, or do y'all just now focus on the other side?
I'm going to tell him the story of my first time visiting here. So my first time that I come to Columbus, because I was working for Canadian, I was setting appointments with Tyler, and I kept sending appointments in in the south side, in the fucking slums. And he would call me, he's like, bro, you got to stop sending you to these houses, these crack houses. I almost got shot today. And so when I came down, I've never seen slums like that. I grew up in freaking Westchester County. So rich people, pretty much. I've never. I was like, bro, I want to see the slums, these appointments they are done. Take you there. So we go. I shit you not, dude. We go down a street, and we see a UPS, not a UPS, like a USPS truck.
Yeah, USPS.
Car right there, and there's a guy with his pants sagging outside the window. Now, I grew up in Westchester, but right there in the drops, I kind of know what that means, right? They're mountains and shit. So. I'm like, yo, you should put the car reverse. That looks sketchy over there. I thought they were about wrong, but not. So the mail guy walks out of his truck, goes to deliver mail. While he's delivering the mail, the other guy pulls an AK-47 out of the sedan and starts dancing with it. Like you see some shit in the favelas of Brazil. And I'm like, yo, bro, put that shit in reverse, bro. Put that shit in reverse. And he fucking does. And we put this car in reverse. And we start going backwards, and the guy's there. And the worst stab rate, the mailman just goes about his business delivering the mail.
Like it's nothing.
The normal. And I'm like, yo.
I'm like, bro, don't worry. I got my pistol on me. He's like, where's it at? I was like, oh, it's in my bag in the back seat. He's like,
That's classic. And you think about it, it's like
slums of Colombia, slums of Brazil type shit.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like crazy.
And somebody still needs to put yard signs out. We might have to drop some signs in that neighborhood. That sounds like a good neighborhood for signs.
He's a blessing.
But Scott, that was actually a mistake we did, was focusing in that neighborhood, because when we started, we were like, wholesale, it's investor property. Let's focus on these shitty properties. But down here, the median home sales price down there is like 50 grand, 70 grand.
Yeah.
So like our assignment fees are like 5 grand, like $8,000 we would get. Like we would make a $15,000 made, like 10, 15 grand, and we were like dancing of joy. And then we figured out that that's actually like terrible, and we can have a business on a $5,000 assignment fee. So we learned less than, stop marketing down there pretty much.
I want to hit that on the REI space, but I have one last question about your area, Tyler, and growing up is that, I could say that I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and it was Southside Richmond. And so a lot of the things that we're saying are super, super similar without even going into the details. But I don't think I could have been successful if I hadn't left, just because of the proximity of all my friends who were doing the things that were there. And it's true when you used to hear it. Everybody's either dead or in jail or had to move away. I can't think of too many guys. I can think of literally less than one hand of guys who actually made something of themselves that stuck around. I mean, these guys have failed so much in life that you can't find them anymore. Or like I said, they're gone. So did you go down that path and then catch yourself? Because it's got to be easy to get drugs. It's got to be easy to wild out. And, you don't expect much of yourself.
All the way until I was about 22 years old, probably. I call it a transcendental moment, right? And I did it with the best of them. I got a lot of my early sales skills from the streets, just to be transparent. And, I sold a lot of drugs. I've been arrested a few times. And, I was raised very Christian, religious, and it kind of early days really pushed me away. And I would almost say that in my late teenage, early 20s, I was kind of like atheist, like almost like an arrogant.
Yeah.
And just so far from my roots. Like I would say such idiotic things like, if you need to believe in a higher power, you're weak-minded. That's just how strong of a conviction I had for like these earthly things that I thought I was just like the shit at. Mm-hmm. And then the transcendental moment was my uncle. He was arrested probably when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and he was in jail for 20 years. And so never knew him, but I've always heard the stories. And my dad one day said, these were all things leading up. And he said, you're the same as him, right? You're going to end up the same as him. And I don't want to die. Like I hope before I die, I can see you change, right? And so the transcendental moment wasn't that. It wasn't then. It was when I was leaving the gym one day. When I was working at the gym that I bought, I was still doing dumb shit. I was leaving one day. I was at the intersection of, I think, 13th Street and 1st. These transcendental moments, you remember to the exact T. Yeah. I was in a red Chevy Silverado that I had bought with, money from unspeakable things. But, and I was sitting there at the light about to turn right, and it just hit me, God spoke to me, and it was really my future self saying, like, do you want to be remembered this way? Because if you continue down this path, this is how you will be remembered. And my answer to the question was no, and I never touched it again after that moment.
I love that, bro. It's tough, man. And it's, you say you never touched it after that moment, but you're still surrounded by it beyond that moment. It's all around you in the culture and it's everything. And one thing Andre was saying a second ago is talking about being those hood and those small hood homes. When I first did my first kind of similar tour to this industry, if somebody told me about it, I was like, I'll drop some signs. I go to the real rough parts of Richmond. I was up there for Thanksgiving visiting my family. I said, let me just test this out. I'll go buy some of these cheap signs from whatever major hardware store. I just wanted to test the concept. I got a Google Voice number, but I'm driving through this hood and I'm like, I know what it's like to be these kids. And if they make 5,000 over months, they're ecstatic, but they're having to do literal felonies. Like people who sell crack on the streets up front, those kids that are out there doing it or sell whatever drugs, they're not rolling in money. They're getting enough to pay their bills for the day, to get some food for the day, and think that they're living high on the hog. If so many of these kids in the cities of the United States knew this concept that we are now promoters of, dude, there's so many kids that are in the exact houses that investors want.
Bro.
And they could do what it is that we do. They're just missing the knowledge. There's no difference between that hustler when you were then at 19 years old than you are now. It's just the amount of knowledge that you've gained. Same houses, same neighborhood, same everything. And so it's just crazy. Like, how do we get that word more out to these guys that like, yo, you don't have to do this shit?
You said something right then that I don't know why, but it just triggered like what I really believe God has me on this earth. My purpose, true purpose, is to help people understand they have that knowledge and that power within them in their own mental suffering. And what I mean by mental suffering is a mental prison, because when you're living that life, you're making money on the surface, you seemingly have it, like you have it figured out. But in your mind, you might as well be locked up in prison because you're always looking over your shoulder. You're always looking for somebody to rob you, get arrested, you're always looking for the next fight. Like you're got to be prepared for that, the next shootout, whatever it may be. Like that's what it is. You're in a mental prison. And it doesn't have to be selling drugs or living the street lifestyle. It could be the debt up to your eyeballs in debt. It could be, the family that you're still, involved with that's kind of holding you down and pushing you down mentally. They're telling you like, oh, all those big dreams you got, you need to dial those back. Like there's so many different mental prisons, so much mental suffering. People are what I call smell blind to it. And my first step, wake them up by showing them my results and then say, hey, look, now that you see that it's real, somebody from there could do it. You can do it too. Now let me show you the path, right? In the future, Andre and I, we've talked about that. We'll be focused on something like that, maybe some mindset coaching, maybe something in the future. But right now we're in that, like you said, hook and jab mode. We're grinding up, baby. Yeah. Getting the results prepped.
And you take pride in it too. Like, I was thinking about this. I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole, but I don't care. I never care about people who like surpass me if they're not building the same size house. Like if your foundation is weak and you already have your walls up, that doesn't scare me because my foundation is much larger. Like I'm not really worried, but I can't be worried about you because you're building this small little narrow house that'll topple in the wind. I'm onto something that's so big that yes, I'm still on the foundation, or I may have just put up my first walls on this side. But this project that I'm working on is so divinely being crafted that it's going to take longer. And so I just don't stress it. And I think a lot of times kids in today's age with social media, it's so like daunting for them to be like, oh gosh, I'm still on chapter 2 of my life. And this guy I follow who I want to be like is on chapter 27. And then you lose that. You lose that connect. You lose that connect. And everybody talks about how easy it is. And I know we guys know because we're in the weeds ourselves. And so you just being an example of a person who's doing it versus talking about doing it. Small little thing is I remember being a kid in high school and it would always be these older guys that I would meet and they'd be like, oh, I used to be the biggest drug runner. I used to be, but they were always talking about either their old sports days or their old drug days.
The used to be's.
Yeah, the used to be's. And it stunk. And so that's the good part. And that also happens in this industry as well, too. So you guys are genuine, authentic operators. I fucking love it. All right, let me ask you guys this now. Sales culture. This is unique, right? Because Andre, I've gotten to know you a little bit, but even more so just in this podcast. But I look at you as a guy who could have fallen victim very easy to like the golden handcuffs that corporate America provides, right? And so it's like, hey, I'm in a corporate job. They're going to give me a pension and I'm going to have a retirement, or I'm going to be able to go up this corporate ladder and there's going to be these predestined steps. When you meet a guy like Tyler, who's cowboyish, right? And like, and who's a cowboy? He's a shirt off, riding a horse, Putin type cowboy.
If I didn't have to wear a shirt, I would.
Like figuratively and physically.
I love it. So how do you adapt to that? Did you guys even have a sales culture in the beginning, or was it literally just your two guys' culture, right?
Well, it was just us. And at first, actually, I was doing sales, and I was just, I think I did it for the first 8 months. And at the end of that 8 months, I was just depressed, and I did not feel good about myself. I hated it. And I told Tyler, I was like, bro, you take over this sales shit, or I can't do this anymore, bro.
Yeah.
I'm done, pretty much. And we switched roles, because at first, he's like, I have a lot of relationships. He has a ton of relationships here in town. He knew a lot of buyers already. So it just made sense for us. All right, you focus on dispositions, because as you have the relationship already, I'll focus on acquisitions and do that. Just to kind of align with what Tyler was saying earlier with selling drugs. I tried selling weed for a while. I was probably the worst drug dealer in the world. I got jumped one time, and they stole me. And that was my pivotal moment where I was like, I'm never touching this shit again. Yeah. But that showed you how, if you can't sell weed, bro, you're just not a very good salesman. Like, you're a terrible salesman.
Now, there's a lot of guys who can't sell it because they smoke it all. They fucking look down and they're like, damn, I was supposed to move this. Instead, it's in the air.
My problem was people wanted to hit me up at like 11 p.m. And I was like, bro, I got to work in the morning. I'm not leaving my house to go get you a dime bagger. You got to work.
Dude, I had
some priorities straight, at least.
I was such a... let me say this. I was such a moron. The very first ounce that we ever bought as a kid to sell, me and my buddy Brian, we're like, we're going to buy this. We were in the hood, and he gives us, and the bag's like super wet. And we're like, oh, super wet. Like, what is this? This is crazy. This is bad. It's whatever. And he was like, oh, the iron fell over on the ironing board, and I was bagging it up on the ironing board. But we were like, fuck it. We'll smoke and sell it anyways. Well, it was laced, bro. It was wet. And so that was, I forget, formaldehyde or something like that. And so our very first, and now we stuck through it. Like, we overcame this objection, but we were like, wow, what is this? But it was like, yeah, exactly. Almost. It was not like yours. It wasn't a pleasant very first experience, but shout out to you, Brian Green, for hanging in there that day. All right, cool. So now you're in there. You're in that. You started out in sales. It gets pivoted primarily to Tyler because now you've mastered and seen the back end. And so was there concerns at that stage? Because that's a major shift as a company. We're like, hey, I'm going to be the sales guy. I'm going to be ops.
The beautiful thing I'll say about it, though, is Andre got to experience what it was like. So we knew from the beginning that he shouldn't have been in that role, but we had limited resources, so Amen. Our first thought was like, hey, you get the leads, work them, pass them to me, I'll sell them. Right. And it was working, but it was working at a slow, arduous pace. Right. It was like I'm also training Andre on sales the whole time. Like, we're doing trainings every day, every morning. And then he's calling me in between sales calls. Hey, what do I say to this? What do I say? And so he's getting good experience, and he was grinding. Like, don't let him be humble about it. Like, he was grinding. He was getting contracts, and he was learning, and he set a goal. Like, I want to be on the Closers Olympics, right? But then he just calls me one day after this deal kind of went sideways after this, it was a conviction thing. He couldn't portray the conviction of like, hey, we might not be able to close this, but we still have to express that hypothetical conviction. Like I said, to be good at sales, you have to be able to express hypotheticals with conviction. And so that was the part where he was just like, man, it's just overwhelming, right? And so then I took on acquisitions and dispo. He took on marketing and lead management, and then, accounting and stuff like that. The systems there, and that catapulted us really quickly. Like, if we would have started with me just doing act and dispo, we would have been so much farther ahead. But we had to make that mistake. And I think it was a good lesson for Andre to learn what it was like in that front seat,
I wish I stopped earlier, but, maybe like 3 months ago. But no, it was good. I got a ton of experience doing it, and it was really tough at first. And when we did make that switch, I said, Tyler, you do these two things, and then I'll just do everything else, and I'll say you have any appointments. And even that, like in wholesale, man, you're talking to people that are in distress situations, right? Like people's problems all day, every day. Like it's just such an emotional drain. And I'm like naturally an emotional type guy, and just it drained me so much after one conversation with somebody, like I'm just drained. And having like 3 or 4 of those a day, every day, it's just, some people can do it. I mean, for me, it's just, after 8 months, I was done.
I have a phrase, and we all hear about it on the disposition side, highest and best. But I also feel like it's also for people in the roles within the firm. Like I want to try to put people in their highest and best use case. And it sounds like, boom, you guys were able to navigate and pivot it out and figure out exactly where your highest and best use case is.
And the respect that, the level, like Andre May in his mind, and we've never even talked about this, but I'll be transparent and candid on here, is I gained a new level of respect for Andre that to know that he was willing to push through that hard, arduous work that he didn't want to do. And he did it with valor. He did it, and he grinded, and he tried his damnedest, and he did well, very well. Like, if he wanted to just suffer, he could do it. He could be an act guy, but I want him to feel good. I want me to feel good. And I want us to be doing things that we love to do, even if we got to do some things we don't like you said, highest and best use of our time. Right. And I just want to say, it gained a new level of respect when he came to me and he's like, man, I just can't do this anymore. And then for him to be able to push and try for as long as he did and actually be successful at it, it gave me a new energy. Like, I got this, bro. Like, I have a metaphor that I use with our partnership all the time. It's like we're rock climbers, and I'm taking the lead rope, and I got to go to the next checkpoint because he just took it to this checkpoint, and he needed a break. I got you, bro. Like, who's going to carry the boat?
So I've had a number of business partners, and everybody's got kind of like things that you like or whatever that are maybe more cohesive. With you, I'm curious. I see a lot of myself potentially in your kind of personality type, Tyler. I find that because I'm always energized and always excited, I'm also kind of needy. And so what I mean by needy is like, I want that feedback from my partner. I'm texting them like, yo, dog, we're about to murder it. Today's going to be that. Like, I'm a hype man. But when I get crickets on the other side, or if I challenge and just say, wait a minute, I wonder what would happen if I didn't reach out for 3 days. Am I going to get them to hype back to me? How are you guys off the hours, right? Like, are you guys like pinging each other sometimes? Like, yo, last week was the shit, or hey, I can't wait till Monday on this. Or are you guys able to really well compartmentalize? These are our office hours, and this is what we do.
I'd say early on, we both, or me personally, I got, the kids, I got the wife, and Andre has, his fiance as well. So like in the early days, it was just like, hey, we're going to have to make some sacrifices. We were up meeting till like 10 p.m. some nights. And then I would still have to wash the dishes, do whatever after that, before bed. But now that we're rolling, we got that expectation of like, 7, 8 o'clock, like it can wait till the next day.
Yeah.
Got that mutual respect. But another huge thing is how we address each other with issues, right? A lot of people will just like, I got to say it right now, right? It is good to address it, but I'm that type. I'm like a combative type. Like I get punched in the face. I'm hit. Like it's just immediate. Like I'm going to hit back immediately. Right. Like, so we have a mutual respect where like issues within the company or issues with each other, we'll throw the subject maybe on our notepad if it's something real personal that we need to get out, or we'll put it in our L10 meeting subject. So we have a weekly meeting where we get together and we discuss all the high level 30,000 foot view stuff.
Yep.
But don't try to talk to me about that shit during the week when we're grinding and like I'm already in fight mode, right?
Yes.
So when we're dialed down, when we got that space, I don't want to call it a safe space because we don't play that. It's just separating that time, right, to have those conversations. And I feel like we do that very well, because what happens when you don't is things slip through the cracks, ideas fall by the wayside. And within a personal side of the relationship where I'm worried about what he's doing and he's worried about what I'm doing, we have those conversations up front and there's no tension that builds.
Yeah, especially when you're separated by distance, like their relationship originally was. That really, again, speaks to the quality of operators you guys are together, because it's very easy to take for granted what somebody's doing just because they're out of your physical area and you don't really calibrate too terribly much. And so kudos to you guys on that. Can you take a moment real quick, guys, and tell me what the sales team is comprised of today? And let's go into a couple of tactics and strategies.
I just touch on what you said because I think it's important. Please. If anybody's listening. So when we set those expectations up front, it's easy to say, right? Tough to do, because a lot of times, especially depending on your personality stuff, you start building up stories in your head. And Tyler and I have had this conversation, and there was a lot of phone calls, especially in the beginning, where I called Tyler because I'm talking to him. I'm in my head, there's some shit going on or something. And I call him up and just have the conversation. And then it just it resolved it. Whereas if we did set the expectation that, hey, call me, let's talk about the issue, then we probably wouldn't be partners today, because stuff comes up, right? When you're partners, it's like a marriage. If you don't talk about it and you keep it bottled up inside and you don't talk about those issues and resolve them, then you're going to end up splitting up. You're going to end up building up and blowing up, and it's not going to work. So I think that happens with a lot of, I wanted to really touch on that because that happens with a lot of people, where they build stories in their head and then they don't talk about it. And then it just screws everything up. That didn't need to screw it up. Nothing is true.
Mountain out of molehill.
Yeah.
We build a mountain out of a molehill.
It happens a lot with leadership teams too. And so we kind of have something similar to you guys. We have our every Tuesday meeting where all the leadership team comes together, and then we have a separate one for another elite group. But it matters. And what happens too is we put them on our issues board, and everybody can see the issues board, and they know what's coming up in the meeting, and there's no blind, spots coming up, et cetera. So it's a good way to bring the issues up front. What is the current team looking like now, Tyler, for I guess the whole operation and then sales?
Well, I'll let Andre, he's the head really
Give us the
of the whole organization when it comes to the team. So I'll let him expand on that a little bit, and then I'll come in with more specifics from the sales side.
So we had 3 lead managers. We just let go of one. We had 2 lead managers, 3 acquisitions guys, 2 virtual, 1 in person. And then Tyler is the sales manager, director of acquisitions, and he's overseeing the 3 of them. We're hoping to get Tyler out of that seat soon, hire a second in person. So we want to have 1 virtual, 2 in person, and then promote somebody into that seat to oversee that role. And then kind of get Tyler out of that position. And this position, we just hired I was leading that for a little while recently. And we just hired a director of disposition. So we have director of dispo, and he's focused on selling everything off market. And then we have a listing agent that we partnered with here locally that she does all of our novations. We've been toying with a bunch of different business models on this novation thing. We just been kind of testing a bunch of different things. We tried a couple of different things. And I'm finding that at least where we're at today, having this vendor relationship with a local listing agent is the better move. Because you have a couple of different ways you can do it. So that's how we've had some good success recently with that. So Dispo, director of Dispo, he does off market. We have Veronica, she does the on market, pretty much dispositions, all the listings. And as far as accounting, just onboard an accounting team. And that's it, right? And I kind of oversee everybody as the COO. And I just got into this role full time. So I'm doing just marketing and the COO. So I'm still kind of getting my gears in place of how do I manage the leadership team now and set expectations, tracking measurables and stuff like that. because before I just didn't have time to do any of that, and it was just pretty much Tyler, so I didn't need to do that. So now I got to kind of switch gears in my head. That's something that I've been kind of trying to do the last couple of weeks, is switching gears into this new world.
Yeah, without going too deep into the metric side, I can tell you that you guys have shown me in meetings, the last meeting that we did, when we were talking about, you guys showed me one of your KPI reports. It's super granular, super dialed in. You guys had it exactly the way I wish it was in my operation. I saw that. I said, wow, that you guys knew exactly where you were at, and it looked genuinely where you were headed. And so I really like that, because I don't see too many REI teams that have those KPIs.
That's all Andre. Most of them don't.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Credit is due. Without Andre, none of that would be possible, because I mean, like I said, cowboy over here, like I'll get shit done, but tracking it, I'll have a notepad and I'll pass it to somebody else.
So I'm gonna do this question out of order then, because Andre, I want to know, with your reporting and what you're building and what you're doing this most off platform. In other words, it's not from your CRM. You're creating these in spreadsheet tables, and you're manually ingesting your data, either call data, dispo data, or sales data, or it's coming from your CRM.
Luckily, we first started with Podio, and I wasted a lot of time trying to build it out. I didn't even know you could hire somebody to build it out for you at that time.
Yeah.
Wasted a shit ton of time. And then we did a lot of research trying to find the good software to use. And we settled with Resimpli. And I actually really like Resimpli because it had a shit ton of metrics to track on the marketing side of things. And it's just, I think it's a good CRM. In my opinion, it's one step down from having a fully built out Salesforce with the giants in the game. They all have these massive built out Salesforce things.
Yeah. Couple $100,000 Salesforce. Yeah.
But dude, they're making so many updates and stuff that I think it might even be better than those Salesforce very soon, after they make some key changes. Because it's an all-in-one system. So I track everything in the Resimpli, but I do have some spreadsheets that I built out and use to track metrics that I can't really track within Resimpli, because it's not perfect. And there are specific things that I want to see. I want to see, for example, the acquisitions guys, based on their goals, how much money they want to make. I want to see, and based on how much money they want to make and their conversion rates, how many offers do you need to make per day, dude, to hit your income goal? How many contracts need to sign? How many offers, how many calls need to make, et cetera, on a day-by-day basis? So we track it very detailed like that on a day-by-day basis to see, are the home buying specialists tracking to hit their personal goals, and are they tracking to hit the company goals? And the tough part's really holding the team accountable, because you know how salespeople are. You're all cowboys.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they are. It's all emotion, little logic.
But real quick, because I just want everybody to know how much of a rock star Andre really is, because I forgot about that. We've been grinding so much, I forgot it. He was building Podio, doing acquisitions, lead management, accounting, and marketing all at the same time. He's a monster.
Yeah, that's dope. And the reports that he's got, I've seen them.
And the reporting.
Well, also, too, how many people have left this other Resimpli because they couldn't figure out how to do what it is that they wanted, and or they weren't paying attention to it?
Yeah,
because,
we do have to leverage spreadsheets, too. To really get the visuals that I need, he was talking about the acquisitions conversion ratios, that's huge,
Yeah.
And to really get that stuff dialed, Andre's built a phenomenal spreadsheet for that. I mean, I got a clear visual. I love it, So when I meet with them, it's super convenient.
You have a EA that goes and pulls a lot of the data from the CRM and then plugs it into those spreadsheets. So Tyler doesn't have to manually do it, all right?
What's kind of your daily metrics, that the sheets that you guys are looking at in the morning, the primary cohorts?
Mainly, I'm looking at revenue, total revenue, that's scheduled to close.
Yep.
Really, because for me, I'm grinding. I'm pushing the team all throughout the month, but really, really grind mode to close out the month strong is the 1st through the 10th, right? Or even really the 1st through the 10th is where I feel as though I can still get a wholesale deal to close that month, a 20, 30, 40K pop off rip, right? Yeah. And so I'm trying to stack during those days. right? But we're still pushing. So scheduled closings, definitely. But my biggest thing is the conversions, like how many leads to contracts.
Yep.
Right. That's a big one that I've been focused on. I think right now, last time I checked, we're at about a 1 to 12 company wide. I could be wrong there, but I think that's the last time we spoke. Yeah, right on the money, 1 to 12. Yeah.
And that's 1 out of 12. And what are your current marketing channels? Is it multiple channels or is it still only the one outbound?
We're doing cold calling with you and direct mail. I mean, obviously, you know, we just doubled our dialers on the cold calling. We're doing 12,000 dials now we use, Scott, per day. Yeah. And we're doing direct mail. The direct mail is kind of tough to scale because our market is like, it's tough to scale. At least for me, it's been with our market population and stuff, finding enough distressed people to mail to. But we just expanded our market a little bit. So I'm going to be spending a lot more money on direct mail as well. We have focused on those two things. And really, I've been starting to spend a little bit of money with the online branding stuff like Google PPC.
Nice.
I know that's the future, but you know, at least in our market, I found it's been very expensive to get a lead through those channels, and they're not that great of leads. Everybody says they're like the online leads are the best, and they are. There is a lot of good leads there, but for the price, I don't know. I think I want to build our brand. I've been focusing a lot of time more recently now on building our online presence, you know, making sure we have a good website that's unique and not the same as any other wholesaler website. Making sure that when somebody receives a letter from us in the mail and they Google our name, like we're the first ones that show up. Right?
Sure.
Making sure you're doing your targeted branding. That's one thing that we were missing for a long time is we really didn't have a great online presence at all. Our Google reviews weren't there. So I'm focused on getting Google reviews now. Just building the online presence and the branding play, because that is the future. You know, with cold calling, direct mail, all these things are great, and it's great to push, and you get that direct conversion, like that immediate conversion. But it's just as you grow, your branding becomes more and more important.
Real quick to lead off of that is for anybody just starting out or anybody that's struggling to catch traction, you know, spreading yourself too thin with marketing channels is going to be detrimental. I mean, look at us. We're 2 years in. We're about to clear 1.5, you know, 1.3, 1.5 this year, shooting for the 1.5. You know, we got to go big, 5 million next year. And really, we don't see ourselves come out of cold call, direct mail, scale those things, right? Like when you're first starting out, you know, Cold call probably would be the best if I had to recommend if we were going to start over.
Outsource
cold call.
Cold calling. Not do
outbound. Cold call. Hire Lamasu. Start. Get rolling. Like whoever you're going to hire. You know, shameless plug over here. We're on the Leads to Deals podcast with Scott Moore. But just stick to that. Don't get fancy. Like I coach my kids' soccer team, and they try to be fancy footwork. The good kids, you know, they got those little young talented kids, and I'm just like, go to the goal. Get the fucking ball to the goal. Like, I don't care about that footwork. Like, and the same thing, like, get the contract, get the leads in the door, convert them, get the contract, sell them, like, get the revenue early on. And even now, like, that's all that matters. Like, yeah, we do novations, we do this, we do that, but it's about those big wholesale pops. That's what's going to push you. You know, the base hits, they keep you afloat, but getting those leads in with that one marketing channel is huge, huge, huge. And, you know, I can't speak enough to that. And
yeah, I'll add on that. I see a lot of guys, not only can they not stick to one channel, but they can't stick to one market. And so they say, hey, I'm going to get into wholesaling and I'm going to do PPC and I'm going to do nationwide PPC. And the true players who are doing nationwide PPC, what they're really saying is, hey, I'm just in a few markets throughout the nation. But to go ahead and spread your dollars all blanket across the country, you're going to have disposition issues. You're going to have comping issues. There's so many issues that come with it. And this week I was talking to a guy, brand new team that's looking to onboard with us. They spend $120,000 a month just in TV alone.
Wow.
And I said, I've seen you guys before, and it's not always a pretty outcome because you have now the softest closers, the top 10 softest closers in the nation because they've only worked TV leads. That's the only thing. They only know like, hey, yep, I've been seeing your boss on TV for the past 3 years. I'm ready to sell my house. Let's go. And so, yeah, exactly. That's the autograph hunters.
Order takers, we call them.
Mm-hmm. And so I said, so we're going to have to overcome that. And you guys are going to have to learn a little bit more about this process. But I got guys that are in your market. You guys, you're 1 out of 14 the last that I checked with Lamasu leads. So 1 out of 14 consistently with our leads. And that's it. That's including like this month's. If you were to like shut off marketing and let that remaining tail attrition out and get all those deals so they're still sitting there, your number is just going to probably go to single digits. This is a direct reflection of you two guys and your team. I can't emphasize enough. The elite of the elite, when somebody asked me, just like those guys asked me, they said, hey, what are your top teams doing? I always mention you guys. You are the efficient team out there. So whether it's 1 out of 12 or 1 out of 14, your sales cycle, how you treat the leads, how you follow up with the leads is the foundation. Talking about that big house that I'm telling you is going to build a monster impact in this industry. Georgia is yours and wherever you guys want to go because nobody's doing it like you guys.
Two big things I want to touch on. Branding, real quick, Dre. I know I've been talking a lot. You know, I love to talk. Branding and transparency. Core values, branding, and transparency. I'm not afraid to put my face out there. Like Andre just did a mailer campaign where he put my personal Facebook page on the mailer. Reach out to me. I'm getting messages from sellers on my personal Facebook page. Like
strong.
All this realm of wholesale where I originally started back, dilly-dallying in 2017, 18, 19, even 2020, like of hiding behind, this veil. You are not going to survive because we're going to reputation you out of the business. Like we're going to transparency you out.
Nice.
Like, and core values, because when you say how we treat the leads, our follow-up systems, one of our core values is relentless. Be relentless. Never quit. Never give up. Go back in. You get a no 3 times. You get a DNC. Do you know how many deals they've gotten off of DNCs where our lead managers just say, well, I'll just try one more time.
Yeah. I love it, bro.
I can't believe that one lead we saw a while back.
Oh, my God. Rebecca Finkley. I know the name. Oaks. Edit that out.
We'll beat that out.
Edit that out.
That's great. So let's talk sales real quick, guys.
I think Andre had something to add.
Did you have on that one?
No, I was just saying thank you for the shout out.
Yeah, honestly, you guys are the elite. And I also talk about you guys a lot when I talk about the power of novations. And so I'd like to just highlight what you guys potentially are doing different than what maybe everybody else does on the sales cycle on pitching novations. We don't have to go overly granular just for sake of time. But I do want to say that I believe right now, other than the institutional guys, I mean, the guys that are so big that they're spending literally multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, I don't see them doing novations because they're pretty much taking down everything that they're doing. So like they're taking them down, they're rehabbing them, they're doing a portfolio. That's this League A. But my other guys who are major players and guys who are doing real volume and real numbers, I'd say 90% of them are doing novations where it's almost all of their deal portfolio. So for you guys, roughly out of every 10 deals, how many are novations? And what do you think makes you guys that damn efficient with your novations pitch that allows you to be 1 out of 12, 1 out of 14 with Lamasu leads?
I'll say right now we're probably pushing towards a 60-40. That's our goal is probably about a 70-30, 80-20. We were the reverse because we pivoted in last November and we were like, let's just novate everything, right? But what happens with novations is you got sometimes a lender comes. Well, first and foremost, you're dealing with realtors. Like, let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Like,
I just made a post about them today.
What makes a good novation pitch is having a strong ass disposition system.
Yes.
And back end team to sell the deals, right? Let's get that first and foremost. to give the acquisitions team confidence to say the verbiage that we need to say with the conviction that we need to portray it with. We got to know we got a rock star team on the back end, a rock star systems. And Andre, you know, I probably did maybe like 1% of something, like, but just Andre building that to get us to where we need to be with that system has just been crucial. I can't speak enough on what he's done and what we've done with the disposition systems for on-market dispo novations. Now, we've had some great mentors. We've heard and learned Eric Brewer's pitch. We know, Ren Bartlett's pitch, Clint Padley Buys. We know Steve Trang's pitch. We learned from all the greats. I've seen Novation King. I've seen what he does. But I'm big on it has to feel like it's mine for me to really believe it, right? So Andre and I, our acquisitions team, we've been working on dialing this thing in for, a year now. And I feel like we've got it dialed. We're not perfect, but you got to strive for perfection to reach excellence. You know the deal?
Yes.
And this is it. I don't like overcomplicating. I restrict words. I restrict words like marketing. I restrict words like service. I restrict certain words that if I hear you saying it, I'm like, why the fuck are you saying that? Like, don't say that. Don't say we're buying it. Don't say anything about buying, marketing. We keep it really, really straightforward and simple. We don't make offers. We make soft offers. We make hypothetical offers. Hey, Scott, what I'm looking at here, it seems like houses are selling in your area for about 60 to 70K. What would you say to somebody who offered you that? Credit Steve Trang on this part. What would you say to somebody who offered you that? I'd say, hell no, what? Like, I'll hang up right now. Hey, whoa. I'm not saying that's my offer, Scott. But if I can bypass the number crunchers, go straight to the boss, and if I can get him to maybe get you closer to the number that you need, would you care where the money comes from? I don't care if you get it from a sock underneath your mattress, whatever. Like, okay, do you care who the money comes from? No, you don't care who it comes from, where it comes from. So then how about this? Why don't you just let us sell it for you? That's it.
And the whole time you're talking, I'm like, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. You have perfected that, boy. I love that, dude. What a little twist.
And then when you go through the contract has equity protection program on there, and it details it out. So you go over all that in contract review.
Yep.
Like, let's get commitment.
Amen.
When you start talking about that stuff up front, I will say 80%, maybe even 90% of the time, you're going to blow up the deal before it's even a deal. You're going to blow up the deal because you're going to overcomplicate it, trying to explain sub 2, trying to explain creative finance, trying to explain novations, trying to explain all these things before you're ready. You got your seller ready to sign a contract. You blew the deal already, in my mind. Hey, somebody could prove me wrong, but works for us.
I know you probably went through a couple of iterations to get to where you're at today with the team in that pitch.
Oh my God. So many. Many.
It's super simple. And a lot of people have the issue where they overcomplicate things and they don't know the power of certain words and they don't have that training. And so for you, when I've listened to all of your pitches, they've always impressed me, and peeking into some of the trainings that I've gotten access to that you've shared with me in previous Zooms. But what does your training regiment look like? What is your day-to-day with the guys? Are you having your morning meetings? Are you auditing calls? Walk me a little bit through training before we cut the episode.
So, and I used to run all the trainings, but now that we've got a rock star sales team, I've divvied out all the trainings to my 3 act guys. Beautiful. They train each other. And I just sit in and, you know, sometimes I'm in there, sometimes I might have something else I got to be doing, but majority of the time I'm in there. And so I'm piggybacking off of their expertise and their knowledge, because we got a lot of rockstar sales guys. We got guys from timeshare sales, from cold calling. One has worked for Grant Cardone, used to work for Meridian Trust, Property Force. One of my guys been in car sales for 20 years. You know, his dad's been in it for 40 years. B2B sales, like these guys are top of the line already coming to me, right?
Yes.
So let's leverage, now that I've taught them the system, the process that we run, and these guys really have helped us develop this process. Like, let me not take all the credit here.
Yeah.
These guys have helped us dial this process. So they're training them. So any new guys that come in from this point on, they're getting trained by the current acquisitions team. So, you know, but we do still have trainings with Steve Trang weekly. You know, we do about 2 trainings with him a week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But first thing in the morning, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're doing either a process training, role play. We're doing some sort of mindset training. We're doing some sort of call review. We're doing some sort of just perspective training on the process, comp training, whatever have you. You know, we try to keep it pretty streamlined, but I like to give the guys their time to shine. And each one of them, I have 3 guys, and they do, one guy does a training a week, and
Nice.
and it's phenomenal. I'm super blessed.
It's super smart. It keeps people engaged. It also allows you to see who your future leaders are by the way that they handle that conversation and the way that they're able to do that training with the rest of the crew. I want to give some advice to everybody out there. Let's kind of end it on that. I think both of you guys have some really good perspective for what you do within your own company. And so for you guys, I'll start with you, Andre. I guess if you could kind of go back maybe to where you first started with him, first started into this industry, and maybe just give yourself some advice. What would you tell yourself about, like, hey, this journey that you're about to go on to kind of help ease or take you to where you're at faster, et cetera?
Advice to myself. So a couple of things. One thing that I did right was commit. Like, literally put down and commit. That was one thing that I did right. A couple of things that we did wrong was like very more technical stuff, not focusing on the median home sales price of the area that we're targeting, right? Not enough volume of leads to do, like, not having the metrics of like, hey, we need X amount of leads to get X amount of contracts, to get X amount of deals, not having that dialed in like up front. And we didn't have a lot of data to even back it up with. So, but like we were, like once we started, you know, dialing with you, Scott, like actually we're ready to invest the dollars and like pay for the marketing. That like our business also started growing like that, because now we had an influx of leads coming in to actually achieve our goals. So if I had one piece of advice to listeners out there, is don't be afraid to invest the money to your market, like believe in yourself, like take $3,000, $5,000, get a freaking credit card, like do a marketing campaign, like bet on yourself. And then also just, you know, these are principles that we all know. Like, I feel like a lot of times we know these things, but I like this saying that Alex Harmoli says, it's, we need to be reminded more than need to be taught. And I very often I've been telling myself that for a couple months now, like, I heard him say that earlier this year and it's just stayed with me. But like, we all know what we need to do. Just do it. And like, believe in yourself, spend the money, commit, focus on, if you're going to choose a market, you know, I think you chose the median home sales price. You went a bit lower end. If I had to do that differently, I would choose somewhere higher median home sales price. What else? I'm drawing a blank now. Tyler, what do you got?
I want to touch on what I wouldn't change first. I wouldn't change how we started with the goal setting, the big vision, aligning the goals together, the core values, creating the culture, and taking what we would value in our family life, what we want to teach our kids, and then put those same values in our business. From Jump Street, from the beginning, from inception, right? That's something I wouldn't change any day of the week. Another thing I wouldn't change is, you know, this is kind of not like me to even say this because I'm big visionary, you know, big picture, but the accounting, the profit first system from square one, we've used profit first, you know, another shameless plug. Like that's something that's huge for me. But if I had to say something that would have helped us propel, that I could give that advice to myself when we started this up together, would be do what you're good at, you know, from the start, do what your skill sets that you already have, do that, right? We like Andre said, I should have been doing AC and Dispo from the start. And I feel like that would have excelled us. And then just be ready. And this is just something that's across the board. Be ready to be really bad before you get good.
Amen.
Be ready to suffer and struggle before you get that big check.
Yep.
Like, just be ready. And that's something I kind of already knew too, but you know, I don't know. We did a lot of things right. You know, Andre and we did a lot of things wrong, but in my personal opinion, I feel like we did a lot of things right. I mean, within 2 years, 2023, we did 312K gross. We've already done 800K to date this year.
Love it. Love it.
Like, I mean, dialing systems, consistent. Here's something I see. Not only with newer companies and guys I've talked to, even in the local area, the branding, number one, getting yourself out there, like that conviction, like everybody I talk to, I'm like, I'm taking over the Columbus market. Like, get ready. Like, just prepare yourself. Andre's like, are you sure you should be saying that to people? And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, they need to know what's coming. Like, so I got people talking. I don't care. They're talking shit. Like, don't care what anybody thinks, truly, genuinely.
Yep.
Except for the people that are close to you.
Yep.
Except for the people that are close to you. Like Andre's opinion, Caitlin's opinion, my wife's opinion. You know, now my team's opinion.
Yep.
Those things I hold dear. Like, but whatever realtor ABC says, or you know, investor that doesn't like our deals because they're too high. Like, okay, well, somebody's fucking buying them. You know.
At least somebody's buying them. I want to give you guys a little bit more flowers because I don't know the opportunities that we'll have, you know, to kind of calibrate like this. But I genuinely, I think that you guys are a hyper lean team and you're not afraid to invest in yourselves. And so when you were talking about your recommendations, Andre, it's exactly that. Like, people give up before they have that opportunity to see the success. And just if you take the emotional side out of it, if you're new in this industry and you're looking at doing deals, go find guys like these guys and say, hey, what's your average cost per deal? And they're like, oh, it's $5,500. Okay, well, I'm at least 75% worse than these guys. So now I need to expect $5,500 plus another 75%. So my cost per deal is going to be $8K. So if I'm anywhere between $5 to $8K in whatever market, just using that as an example, but people, they're like, hey, I spent $200 on this and I bought 10 PPL leads and I did these other things. Like, you're not even spending enough to reach the cost per deal of the major players in your market. So you just don't understand the mechanics of how this actually works, which is like Andre said, you got to spend the money. You're just not going to scale in this business unless you spend the money. And then obviously you have phone assassins like Tyler and his crew.
So to commit to use, like, a lot of times you don't know the right questions to ask, Scott. Like you're talking about.
Oh my God, you read my mind, bro. Swear to God, I was about to say
I didn't know what that, like, yeah, sure, I might know cost per deal. I don't know how important that is. I don't know how that number tied to my revenue at the end of the month. Like, I have no idea how the mechanics things that work, like these conversions and stuff. So, you know, what Tyler and I do really well, I mean, we both spent like a lot of money on mentorship. We're not afraid to spend money to learn from other people for speed, right? You're trading money for speed. Huge. And if you understand that it's not really a cost, it's an investment and you're going to get a return, that's why I'm not afraid to put shit on credit cards, because number one, I believe in myself. Number two, it's not me spending, $10,000 on bullshit. I know it's $10,000 I'm spending today that's going to turn into 50 in 6 months, and I can pay that credit card back. That's why I'm not afraid to utilize debt when you know how to utilize it correctly. And at the same time, what's even scarier though is when you utilize debt to pay for like mentorships and stuff, which we have done. I think collectively between Tyler and I and our companies, we've probably spent close to $200,000 in mentorship. And that's utilizing debt and utilizing our own capital. Like Tyler, before, starting this, he spent, I think Tyler, you said over like 100,000, and the Robert Kiyosaki, like going through that whole stuff.
Yep. Legacy education. I don't know if you know that. That's for the old school guys. Legacy.
Whether it's using cash too, but I think before we started, I've probably watched 90% of Steve Trang's interviews, because he was interviewing, I think he still does, like the top dogs in the industry. And he would have guys in there doing $1 million, $5 million, $10 million a year. And I would just sit there with my little notepad taking notes, dude, like just what are these guys talking about? And then going and trying to apply it to my business. And then once you start gaining enough knowledge, you know the right questions to ask. And then when you do pay for that mentorship and you do get in the room with those guys that you can ask the question, you'll have the right questions. Because if you pay to be in the room, but you literally just have zero idea, you kind of waste your money because you don't even know the right questions to ask. Get your feet wet, man. I'm a big believer about get your feet wet. Like that's literally how I got in my last company, with that mentality of like, let me just get my feet wet and I'll grow. Like, let me get my foot in the door and I'll fucking figure it out. I'm gonna, like, whatever it takes, whatever I gotta do, I'll figure it out. Like, let me get my foot in the door.
Love that. That's what I love about this guy. He's got the cowboy in him too.
He does. He does.
Yeah, it's deep down in there. You got to pull it out, But I'll just say one more thing too, is like when you're struggling, piggybacking off 100,000% agree with everything Dre just said. But if you got a problem, if you don't know what the answer is, or like dial, pick up the phone.
Amen.
Somebody has that answer, right? And they'll give it to you.
Yes.
But like Andre said, you got to know the right questions to ask. Like God has the answers for you.
Amen.
But you ask and you shall receive, and knock and the doors shall open. Like you got to know what the question is. What's the problem? So I have a saying that I've been saying a lot lately, even with contracts. Like sometimes we lock up a contract too high, but we can't clean up a mess that doesn't exist, right?
I love that.
You can't clean up a mess that doesn't exist.
For the dispo team. Don't let them hear you say.
Don't let dispo hear that.
Oh, shit. Hey, my team would kill me if I didn't give shout out to your closers, though. We love live transferring to your crew, your guys that you do have responding to our leads. Like everybody knows. So to your closers, to the uncommon closers, the guys that are driving all of this conversation, you are the elite of the elite. Like you are there and you must dominate this industry. You must destroy everybody else that's out there. You have the makings to be able to really put together something special to dominate. Start at Georgia and then the Southeast, wherever you guys want to take it. But you really do have a world-class crew. And we're super stoked to be partners with you on that business and thankful to have you guys here on the podcast today. We will do this again when you come down. I know the conversation's in the air.
I want to bring the whole crew down, the whole sales team down. I told Anthony today, one of my main guys, I was like, bro, we were going to do it down in Columbia, but we're going to do this one, the first one on Zoom. Yep. But when we do go down, I want you, Connor, Justin, Dre, maybe even bring Terrell with, like, we'll have the whole sales crew with us. Like,
and we'll get a dope ass mansion here in town, probably in my neighborhood, and we'll rock and roll. And then we'll set up all the cubicles here, and we'll just live transfer to your guys all throughout the day, and just bang, 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 bang.
Because I know your team's gonna hear it. When we got a running joke in the company with my sales team, and when a llama suit comes through, they try to get on there like, hey. I got a deal. It's Sally. She's, she's this, she's that. He like, just send it over. Send it. Don't tell me anything. I don't need to know nothing. Send it. Send it over.
Send it.
Just send it.
And in Boiler Room, when you watch Boiler Room, there's that one Reco, and he does the transfer, and he starts talking. He's like, just give me the call, and then boom, it's off to the races. Yeah,
we don't care. We'll talk shit about it later. Whatever. Like, what's the next?
I love it.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Just send it.
That's right. That's right. All right, cool, guys. I appreciate it. There's a lot more weeds that we could have gone into. I would tell everybody out there, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity here in a second to tell us your socials or how we can find you guys. But the depth of information that these guys have, and I'm saying this because it's so genuine. I belong to a lot of great masterminds, and I have clients that are more revenue than what they do. But I don't have anybody in my network that I genuinely believe is as efficient as they are with their sales process. And the only thing separating them for the larger guys is merely just runway, because they're faster and better and more efficient. So if you want to be surrounded by, have your eyes on guys like these two guys, both the dynamics of the business that you're talking about, you're really talking about alpha and omega. Talking the administrative, the dispo, and then you're talking about the sales and the marketing. You're talking about all the components really between these two guys and their wonderful support staff. They need to follow you too. So, Andre, how does somebody out there see this podcast and learn a little bit more about you?
Yeah, best place is probably my Instagram, andrecarvalho.rei. It's just trying name.rei. You find me on there. I'm on Facebook too, but Instagram is probably the best place.
Boom, I love it. Ty?
I'm a lot more active on Facebook. Tyler Wyatt, just search me up. Should be able to find me. Columbus, Georgia, born and raised, if you're wondering. But I am going to try to get more active on Instagram. And it'll be at GTylerW.
Boom.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, you're showing your age since you're only on Facebook. I got it. I understood. I could see where that was going.
Yeah, a little Instagram content.
Yeah, I see.
Once I start to get we start to free up our time a little bit more. That's something, we know is one of our objectives, to get on social media more. And hey, like, I'm willing to give out value. I say one thing I say a lot of times is a rising tide lifts all boats. So if I can help other people reach their goals and get what they want, I know God's going to take care of me. He's going to take care of Dre. He's going to take care of our team. And we're going to reach the stars, baby, together.
Boom. All right. I love it, guys. Thank you so much for taking this time to come out here and shoot the shit with me and kind of educate the team out there what's possible.
Love it.
Have a good guys' day.
Thanks so much,
all right,
John.
talk to you, boys.